Hello, everyone, and welcome to Epreneur Podcast, episode 11, where we try to talk you out of a political career if all you're looking to do is make some positive change in the world. This is going to be pretty convincing, so stick around. Welcome back to another episode of Epreneur Podcast, where we are bridging the gap between business and sustainability. We want to educate and motivate sustainapreneurs by discussing important topics, debating different perspectives, and by showcasing those of you out there who are doing it right now. I'm your host, Nate Hansen, and we're glad to have you with us. So let's get started. Sometimes I get into political discussions with people who may ask me, "Hey Nate, you've got some pretty good ideas. Why don't you run for office?" And I usually reply with, "No thanks, I'd rather get something done." That usually doesn't resonate well with some of my more staunch political friends, but they get it. They understand where I'm coming from. I usually don't even need to really elaborate on it. They know it's broken. That doesn't mean that all politicians aren't trying. I just don't want to play a game where lots of work's being done, but nothing seems to be getting accomplished. The business world makes a lot more sense to me. But then that can peg me as some kind of an anti-government kind of guy, and that could not be further from the truth. I just don't like inefficiency. And so that makes me more of an anti-current establishment kind of guy. I feel like the American government used to be this great Titanic on the open seas. Whenever there was an iceberg ahead, the three branches could collectively and consistently shift that little shifter thingy to turn the boat left or right, and the message would eventually reach an engineer in the boiler room, and the boat would start to turn left or right. Nowadays, the world acts more like a whitewater rapid going down the Colorado River, and they're still sailing the damn Titanic. By the time the engineer gets the message to turn left, you've already had to turn left, right, and then left again. But to make matters worse, they can't even agree on their heading, let alone left or right. So, what does the Titanic look like floating down the Colorado River? A dam. Because that's what it becomes. A dam. It's stuck sideways between two rocks, unable to move. So to put it more blatantly, it's way too inefficient and bureaucratic to function with the agility we need it to in order for it to keep up with how quickly our world changes every single day now. It's time for a real change and not just empty stinking promises. Not only are they not efficient, but they've pegged everyone against each other as if it's some kind of a football game between two opposing teams. Nobody cares about compromise anymore. All they care about now is having their team get their ball into the end zone to win the game. As far as I'm concerned, if it isn't a tie, or at least close to one, nobody wins. And it doesn't help that there are so many fans on both sides supporting the chaos. The only one acting like what a government should be acting like are the referees. That's who the government should be. They should simply be the dry, old rule makers and enforcers, separate from favoritism and nepotism of any team. They should be considering a compromise between both sides to fully service the majority of logical, bipartisan, just up for a good idea to get things moving forward kind of real Americans. And so, since the whole system seemed to be broken anyway, I chose business instead. Because I believe people have more power to change their fate by intelligently purchasing things that align with their values, as we've discussed before. Besides, business makes money. And it seems like money is the only thing that gets anything done in politics these days anymore. So I decided to go into sustainable business so that I could earn my customers' trust and support so that we can make enough money to influence policy for the people. Now that's real customer service. It's rather unfortunate how all this works, but it's better to accept how it works and make it work for you rather than just getting upset about how it shouldn't be working that way, right? But there is a positive end here. Because the best part of this is that people still have the power. They just don't realize it's in their wallets and not at the polls. That's another episode as well. And the more we educate people on this concept, the faster we regain the stability and functionality of our country again. Here's an idea for all you sustainapreneurs out there to consider. How about we pitch it to them like this? This is to our customers. Hey, America, how about you keep paying your taxes and then pay attention to what they're doing with your money? Then take a look at the profits that we sustainapreneurs make and see what we're doing with it. What percentage of every dollar is being utilized the way it should be? Now, breakaway, I guarantee even the most inefficient business in America would still double the government's resourcefulness based simply on budgetary policies. If any company in America used the government's budgetary systems, they'd be bankrupt in no time flat. That's because the government doesn't have to work well or even make sense to make money. They just have to keep asking for more taxes and printing money. This sustainable business of the future could give our current government a run for their money. I don't think they've had enough of a fire lit under their ass lately. I promise, if America found a better way of doing it, they'd switch in a heartbeat. Right now, our government is so fat that it can't even fit through the door or even get up off the couch. But we just keep shoveling money right into its gullet, and it keeps promising to get moving as soon as it's done eating. But then still nothing gets done, and it's finally time for a mouthful of money. How long before we tell it, hey, look, we found something over here that actually works, and we're sorry, but we're not shoveling money into you anymore. We're going to go with something that we finally trust will work. And at that point, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't care less if all of DC finally got so scared of being deemed irrelevant that they got up off their asses and got busy getting things done. Then we sustainapreneurs could get back to fixing the world's problems, and the government could get back to doing what it's supposed to be doing, supporting its people in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So if you want to make real change in the world, I'd implore you to stave away from the politics and take the sustainapreneur route. But if you still want to make a good go of it, hey, I wish you luck. I really do. Because I don't care how it works, just as long as it works. That concludes our episode for today. As always, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, share, rate, and subscribe. And we'll see you all again next time on Sustainapreneur Podcast, where we are bridging the gap between business and sustainability.